Welcome to this WordPress Essentials session. Today we're going to look at users. We're going to deep dive into roles, how to add, edit and delete users within the system. We're going to look at best practice security tips, how to keep your site nice and safe and secure at all times, giving permission to only the people you need to, and how each of those users can interact within the WordPress backend. We're also going to deep dive into the editor user and how best to use that within your business. And then finish it off with a little bit of password retrieval to tidy the back end up. So that's all about users. Let's have a look and we'll cross over to the screen share now. So let's look at an install, a base install of WordPress and how the users are first set up. I'm in the dashboard. I've already created an account in the process of setting up the site. I won't cover that in this tutorial, but let's look at how we go from scratch with one user and set it up properly for multiple users. So let's have a look at the users profile over here. Here will be a list of all the users in the site. So normally the first user that's set up is like an admin account. It has administrator role of admin. An administrator has total control over everything in the site and system. So you can add and edit themes and plugins, or manage all users, pages, posts, content, media, everything within the site you can deal with. Now this is great, but you don't want too many administrators because they will tend to, passwords will get lost and you're more prone to being attacked and hacked. So you need to be careful with how many administrator accounts you create. Normally in a standard install we would have 1 or 2 administrators and the rest are editors or of a less privileged access details. What you'll notice here under settings, when it's first set up as well, the email address that is set up also connects to the core email address of the WordPress install. To change this, we'll send a notification to the old email address for it to be approved. So just bearing that in mind when you do the setup. Also, there's a few controls here like managing membership, anyone can register, and this new user default role set to subscriber. Do not change this unless you absolutely know what you're doing. These can open up very much a very large security hole. I have seen this where a hacker set this to administrator and then there was thousands of administrator accounts being added before we know it. The whole site was just in a total mess. So do not change those if you don't know exactly what you're doing. So let's go back to the users. And I'm going to add a new user because I need to describe to you the different types of users in the list. So I've already described what an administrator can do. So let's work backwards from that. And the profile back is the editor role. So the editor role can do most things in the site, manage other people's content, publish, manage media, but it can't manage plugins and themes and core settings within the site. So it's a good role to have if you've just got someone working with your content and publishing content and editing content, changing content, adding photos, videos, all that sort of stuff. An editor role is great for that. An author is a stripped down version of the editor role. An author can only manage their own content. They can still upload media attached to that content and they can publish their own content. A contributor is a stripped back role of the author and it can only add their own content but not actually publish it. They also can't upload media files. So it's quite a restricted role. Great if you have some people writing copy for your website, like an article that then needs to go through an approval process. The next is subscriber. You'll often see if you've got a WooCommerce store, e-commerce engine, or like a membership style WordPress install that has restricted content to just a group of users. Normally that user type would be subscriber. So for instance, WooCommerce purchasing person, a customer in a WooCommerce store would be set as a subscriber in the system. So let's go and create an administrator account. I'm going to add it as Jason Candy and use my name. I'll show you the password that's generated here. This is quite a complex password, which is fantastic. This is what WordPress does really well. It creates those solid, complex passwords. You want to keep these. You don't want to trash them and do something like this. Password. Don't do that. Okay. You want to use their engine for the password. So here it's auto-generated another password. That's what I want to use. You can send that through to the user that you're setting up and set them up as administrator, and they will receive an email that they can reset their password. So in this case, it doesn't actually matter what password you choose. You can overwrite that, choose not to send the password, and then send them a separate email or communicate the password to them separately. That's all good and doable, but this works just as well. So I'm going to add that admin user, and you can see here that admin user is being added, and because I've used my email address, it's went and got my avatar. How did it do that? We use my profile as part of Gravatar, which is a separate cloud profile tool, which I've uploaded my thumbnail or my headshot there. So great way to use your profiles across the system. So here's a new profile. You can, control different tools, so whether they use a visual editor or not within the admin of the site, different color schemes. We've never changed all this stuff. Keyboard shortcuts, the toolbar. I just leave, this is all standard stuff. I would leave this just set up as is. However, the one thing I would change is the nickname. So nicknames are displayed as like the author name on the site. You can choose that display name, and personally, I would change the author name to be different to my username. Quite often, and this is best practice, lots of hackers try and they use automated tools to scan those author names and usernames, and then they try to brute force attack those usernames. Here's an example of that in our main core website. People trying to log in as admin. So as a default, we would remove the admin account, and I'll go and show you how to do that in a second when we edit the users. So I would change the display name. In this case, I'm going to use my full name, and I could put my bio there, and you can use a plugin to show that bio. There's a whole bunch of tools there. You can regenerate a new password, but I'm going to update that user now, and we're good to go. So Jason, that email address would normally will get an email, and we'll have a look at that in a second. Bear in mind that each user in the system will need a different email address. The security of the system is based off that. So you just can't keep adding users with the same email address. That is bad practice. So if I look at my email in my inbox, I've been notified, because I get the support emails as well, that a new person has been created, a new administrator, but the administrator that I've created also gets this link. So I can go click here and go straight to the login, or I can go and reset my password. So I'm going through to reset. I'm going to copy that and keep that in a safe place. There we go. I'm going to log in. Username is training-admin. I could also use my email address there as well. So I'm going to log in. And now I'm in as an administrator, and I now have total control of the site, as similar to the first username I set up. So let's have a look at that. So here I am. I'm logged in as training-admin. My name's Jason Hawkins. Here's my email address, and I have an administrator. Now, best practice, if I had a user with admin, I would actually remove this account. So let's go and do that. So I've got an option here. I can remove admin. I can delete all the content related to that user. That's a pretty dangerous thing to do. I would really never ever do that. I would attribute all the content across to the other user. In this case, it's me. So I'm going to confirm that deletion. And so now I've just got one user in this list. So let me, I'll create editor user now. And again, unique email address. I'm just going to call it editor user. Don't have to put a website in there at all. You can show that password. Let's save that password. I'm not going to send the user an account, and I'm going to send that user as an editor and add new user. So you can see my training dash editor profile now has been created. Again, I would I'm just going to go and save that password. Here's my training editor profile that I created earlier. And I'm back here on editing this user. Again, I would change the nickname to editor. Here's my name, editor user, but that would normally be an actual person's name. And there we go. So I've created an editor user. They've theoretically gotten an email. You heard that ding in the background. That's the email landing. Now, let me log out. And I'm going to log in as the editor. Created a password earlier. So this is how I at least manage my passwords. I keep them saved in the browser, and I have a master password in the browser. This works really well. It allows you to create very, very complex passwords, and you would never use the same password across different sites as well. Really, best practice, have individual complex passwords for every different site you are using. Okay, so I've updated that. Now, I'm logged in as editor, and you can see that I have a stripped down menu here now. I don't have access to all those controls that I would as a administrator. So that's the difference between that editor account and the administrator account. So that pretty much covers it. I will just do a quick password retrieval. One of the common things that we see all the time, we get a call from our clients going, hey, I've lost my password to WordPress. And look, pretty simply, we just say, hey, use the password retrieval tools that are on the system. So what does that look like? It's pretty simple. You go down here, instead of the login, you would go to lost password and you put in your email address. Get new password. Okay, so that emails it. Here's my password reset. And here's the link to go and create my new password. Again, save that password. And I am good to go. So the difference there is that, just saving that password, the difference here is that sometimes the email that gets sent from WordPress ends up in people's junk. That's the one thing that usually gets lost. So if you're having trouble finding that email that comes through, then please look in your junk file as the first port of call, because that will most likely be where the user actually lives. So that's managing users in a nutshell. WordPress has a great tools for keeping those passwords secure. Lots of different levels. Remember, we usually have one or two administrator accounts, and we flip to the rest of the users are editors. Only give the rights to edit a particular user with for what they need. So if they don't need to be an administrator, give them editor or author or contributor status. Thank you very much.